Meeting call to order. Today is Tuesday, July 13th. It is now 7:06 PM. Town Council meeting via Zoom. Sarah, want to do roll call?
Says Pledge of Allegiance.
Are you doing the Pledge of Allegiance?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see that.
That's okay.
I'm having a brain fart. Councilman Licciardi, you losing the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America and to the republic
To the
for which
republic
it stands one nation,
one
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Councilman Messier, we lead us in prayer.
We're doing a prayer tonight. I didn't have a prayer ready for the special meeting. May God watch over the meeting. Thank you. God bless.
That's the shortest one I've heard so far.
I
Thank you.
didn't know we had one for the special meeting. I would have had something good to you guys. I'll make it doubly good next meeting, I promise.
Okay, roll call. Councilman Messier,
Here.
Councilman Licciardi,
Here,
Council Vice President Williamson,
Here.
and Council President Goslin.
Here.
All right, quorum on record.
And again, before we get started, I just want to say, Mark Bourget is in the audience. He's the incoming Ward 5 councilman, and congratulations to him. And, this is very important information for him tonight. And I did have a brief text message with him over the weekend that I am willing to, if he has any questions or concerns, I would consider him actually a member of the council at this time, even though he's not sworn in. He just cannot vote on anything at this point. All right.
All right. You ready?
Yep.
Okay. Authorization to award the Road Rehabilitation Services 2021-6 to Carty Corporation in an amount not to exceed $2,884,172.50.
Do I have a motion?
I'll move the resolution.
A second.
Discussion?
I have some questions.
Sure, Jay, go ahead. You can start off.
Don, are you on?
Yes, I am.
As far as, we're doing a lot of roads in town. How many crews is Carty going to have out there at one time? So I know we had talked about before doing the bid a little bit differently so we could have a lot of work going on at once.
You're going to end up with a lot of work, even if they come in just with one main crew. My pre-construction is scheduled for Thursday, and I would expect Carty to come in with one crew to two crews with two reclaimers. You're going to end up with two graders. You're going to end up with compactors. You're going to end up with a crew that's doing structures. You're going to do a crew that's paving. So just one crew alone may take up 5 different streets. If they bring in 2 full crews, you're going to end up with probably 8 to 10 streets being worked on simultaneously.
Okay.
I-
Where do you plan on, what's the time frame with all this? As far as like start to finish, are you looking at
September of 2022 is the end date. I expect to get 60, maybe 70% of the work done this year. Again, we're getting kind of a late start, but we'll try to get 50 to 70% and then finish it up next summer.
Okay. My question is as far as scheduling wise, I know the kids are going to be going back to school in September. Would it be in our best interest to get the major roadways done first, like the Turnpike, Phoenix Avenue, Wakefield Street, with just the major travel roads now?
We're going to try to get all the major drags done early. I know that New London Turnpike will be one of the first roads done with the cold in place process. Wakefield Street may be a change order. We may add a different treatment there and do a mill and overlay for the first half. We originally were going to do hot in place. Unfortunately, that contractor got booked up until next summer. So we won't be able to bring that hot in place until then. If we go with cold in place or with reclaim, you're going to pay double. And so I don't think you want to do that either. But we will try to get the first half of Wakefield Street done with a mill and overlay.
Will we have a schedule as to, because I mean, we have the bid awarded. As soon as one crew goes out and one road gets started, my guess is we're going to have a lot of questions as when are we getting to mine? What is getting done? What's the time frame? Will you have a schedule? I mean, obviously I understand with weather and everything, things get backed up, but will you have some type of a schedule to say, this is like the street sweeping schedule? This is where we intend to be now. This is our goal. This is where we are.
We will have a schedule, but again, I got to have the pre-construction before we get there. Pre-construction happens on Thursday. We haven't given notice to proceed yet because we don't have the funding in place or these votes in place.
So pre-construction is where, this is what I'm talking about. Like pre-construction is where?
It's going
Like
to
if
be a
we're
town
starting-
hall. It's going to be a town
Okay.
hall in the council chambers, and it's going to be 10 o'clock on Thursday.
Okay.
Any other
I don't
questions?
have any other
Jake?
questions. No, not
So
right now.
Actually, if I
Right.
can follow up, Don, you just said the hot in place, the vendor, which vendor is that?
It's called Highway Rehab Corporation. They came in with Indus on the preservation contract, and unfortunately, they got tied up after, they had us scheduled for late July, early August, and they ended up getting contracts. And unfortunately for us, they're kind of the one company that does that kind of work in New England.
Is that the crack sealing you were talking about?
No, that's where they mill up to 2 inches off the road, and then they reclaim the material. They put heat to it, they put emulsion into it, and then they put it back down hot, and it basically takes out all of the defects. On a street like Wakefield Street, where there's not a lot of base or a lot of deep problems, it's an ideal treatment. On a road like New London Turnpike, where your defects are deeper, you have to go with cold in place, which goes down 5 inches. When you get to roads like Turner, Lonsdale, parts of Carlson Circle, I mean, I can go on. I got over 50 of those roads. The road is so bad and the pavement is so bad that we have to actually reclaim down to the base and dig up the base, reset it, and then put down 3.5 to 4 inches of mix on that.
So Don, let me ask you a question. Wakefield Street is Wakefield Street. You have a procedure you want to put on Wakefield Street.
Yep.
Why would we rush to get Wakefield Street done another way if we can work on 50 something other roads and then book Wakefield Street for later in this year, or if not, early spring next year?
If we waited till next spring, next year, we still should be able to use the hot in place, and we could turn around and do that. Again, I anticipated you guys questioning why we're not doing the main drags. So we're going to do an analysis on the cost. And if the cost is not significantly greater on Wakefield Street to do a mill and overlay, we'll do a mill and overlay on the first half.
Can you define the first half for me?
It's pretty much from Main Street up to the golf course. That seems to be where your biggest defects are.
Okay. So again, and we'll get to the next resolution, but the company the only company that bid, you're saying is now not available?
One of the two vendors is not available. That's on the Indus bid. That's correct. They're available for next summer, but they're not available for this summer.
Well, I'm a little confused. Why did they bid then?
They bid as a subcontractor to Indus.
Okay,
And unfortunately, they got, well, fortunately for them, they got a lot of work and now they had to schedule it. So they scheduled their work out. They're full for this year.
okay, well. And you also mentioned a change order for Wakefield Street.
If we
With
do the
these-
mill and overlay, we'll have to do a change for that.
Well, again, with these bids being as close as they are, any change order will make me uncomfortable. I mean, you're talking about, $7,000 in a $2.8 million bid. That'll bring some concern. I mean, even the third place bidder was less than $50,000 higher, I
Right.
think.
But you're confusing the two contracts. That contract would
no,
be
I'm
on the
not.
second one.
No, I'm not. I'm not
Don,
confusing them at all.
you're not confusing because if you're going to a mill and overlay, you're now
Right.
going to use either
Somebody
whoever we
else.
choose in the first contract.
Right.
If you say
So
so.
I'm not,
Well,
Well,
who would do the mill and
who
overlay?
else is going to do it?
It would be coming under the Indus contract. That was one of the roads identified for Indus, and they would contract out with a company to come in and do the mill and overlay.
So think about that, Don. You're going to subcontract out a mill and overlay through Indust, who's probably going to raise the price higher than what we would get through the mill and lay through the Cardi Corporation or Deambra or whoever else on this list.
Okay. Again, I've talked with Cardi and I've talked with Indus. They're going to be very cooperative between the two of them, and they're going to work on both of them, and it's going to be in the town's benefit. For example, Indus has a very high number for structures. Their structure for a manhole is $800. For Cardi to do it, it's around $420. Cardi has agreed to come in and do that. So Cardi will be doing the structures as a subcontractor for Indus, but they're going to be charging us the $420, not the $800.
So the timing of this, though, I'm just make sure I'm getting the right schedule. So we're set to do the full. So Cardi's set to come in like now,
Correct.
and they will be done by next September.
Correct.
The Indus company is coming in next summer.
No, Indus is coming in this fall. One of the treatments that they were offering up is a hot in place. They will not do hot in place this year, but they will do cold in place. They will do micro surfacing, and they will do crack sealing all this year, and they'll get that started and probably will get 70% of that work done.
Okay. All right. That was a little unclear. Okay.
Yeah.
And they're set to finish up by next fall as well, then, correct?
That's correct. Both contracts, I believe it was September 15th was the completion date.
Okay. And when the work is going on, I don't know whose responsibility it will be. Maybe the manager, maybe you, Don, I'm not sure. But just because obviously traffic comes to a halt when the major roads are being done. I just really want to impress upon everybody that we need to get this out there to the public, because people need to go to work, kids need to go to school. And the worst thing is when you're sitting in traffic, and we all know it. But if we can head this off, and I don't know if it's going to be robocalls or, it has to be more than a website, just as many places as we can just to market what we're doing and to let people know kind of not to go that way?
We will do
We'll
it.
have our variable message boards out in advance on the main roads, and we'll put out code red notifications in multiple fashions. I'm sure we'll do an article in the Times and whatever else we can think up to get it out as much as possible.
We'll do as many code reds as we possibly can do to identify what roads are being done when. And I will do as many neighborhood meetings as I can when it makes sense. If I can get a group of roads together, then I'll hold a neighborhood meeting. Dave, both you and Jason saw the neighborhood meetings from last year. I think they're conducted relatively well, and I think I answer most of the questions for people.
Yep.
So go back to Jason's original comment about, and I was under the same impression we were going to have more than one contractor coming in, so we were not, working only in one area at one time. And that seems to have changed. And I know I had a conversation, Mark, with you about the number of crews. Don, I'm hearing you say one crew, maybe two.
I think there's a different definition on what a crew is.
Crew is.
So a crew isn't just a one location place. So there may be part of a crew out doing the raising structures. There'll be part of a crew doing, I don't know, the various terminology. Don can get into that better, but like you said, there'll be a few different, someone will be doing some prep work on one street, a different level of prep work on another street. We'll have the simultaneous between Cardi's and the rehab and the other bid. They'll be separated, and we'll try to coordinate to the best of our ability, so we're not making them on top of each other. We're taking care of different sections of town and getting them together when it's appropriate to get them together too.
Okay, yeah. I just want to make sure that we are spreading the dollars and the time, so people aren't waiting till next September in Ward 4 or 5 or 3. I mean, that some people are seeing some improvements all across town, I guess, is part of what I would be concerned about. And I don't know how many roads we're going to be hot in place.
Okay. Let's go to, it's actually not that many. It's about 10 or 12 roads.
Okay.
But if you take a look at the reclaim, just to kind of explain it so you kind of understand it. The first crew that'll come in is going to lower all the structures. So those structures will get lowered down. The second crew that'll come in will be the one with the big machine that grinds up and pulverizes that road up. There'll be a grader there, and there'll be a couple trucks there doing hauling emissions, and then they will turn around and compact that, and that will be step 1 or step 2. While step 2 is going on, the crew that's lowering the structures will be going to the next road in order to get that one started. When that road is finally ground up and set, and the final grade is set, they will move to the next road and start grinding that up, while that crew is now, the crew that is setting the structures up is now on a third road, where you now have a crew that's in there that will turn around and pave and put the binder down. Once the binder's down, they will continue to follow. There will be a fourth crew that will come in, and what they will do is they'll raise the structures, and you've all seen it where they're up 1.5 inches and you have to drive around them to try to avoid them. That will be the fourth crew. That crew will continue to follow along. The fifth crew that will come in will be the paving crew, and then there'll be a handwork crew. So you on a well-run operation, you could see 6 different crews setting that whole road in place. That's not counting the crews that are going to come in from Indus to do crack sealing or cold in place this year. You're going to have more activity than you're going to want, to be honest with you. And quite honestly, it's going to be difficult to get police details. It's going to be difficult to turn around and keep people as notified as we possibly can. I won't be able to give everybody an up to the minute, this is what we're doing every day. But we will turn around and say, you know, during this week, expect that you're going to see this work coming down your street and plan appropriately.
And what would be what's the turnaround time? So you lower the structures, you do the binder, you raise the structures, you wind up coming with the paving. How long does that take? And I guess I'm asking how long people will have minefields to operate in.
I think we did Harrison Church in 6 weeks, 5 or 6 weeks. That was 2 roads, and you've got over 50 roads that you're reclaiming. That is a long time process. And again, once we get going, rolling in it, they'll knock these roads out quickly. And a lot of these roads are short. They're not the big, long ones. Okay. When you get into cold in place, they will run down the street, and it'll be one day we'll do about a mile of cold in place. The second day they'll come in and they'll either put a 1-inch overlay or they'll put what's called micro surfacing on the top of it. And that road will only be tied up for 2 days. So when I look at New London Turnpike, for example, I don't see us out there more than 4 days. Where if we reclaimed it, it might be a month out there.
Okay. All right.
So Don, I'm just trying to think of different neighborhoods in town. When it snows, obviously, and there's a parking ban in effect, people have to get their cars off the street. So that's normally one night. So you're talking on these shorter roads, this could be like a 3 to 4 day thing?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So
Again,
let
we'll
me
do
go
our
back.
best with those notifications that, people aren't going to be, once the work is done, they can come back and park in the neighborhoods. Hopefully we'll have an understanding that, the crews will be starting back up again at 6, 7 in the morning. So if it's more convenient for them to park on the next street and walk or make friends with a neighborhood business or permission with neighbors to work that out, well, we'll do our best to coordinate it. And
I mean, we need to coordinate trash removal and mail delivery. And, there's always somebody that's moving right in the middle of when we're trying to do the construction. We'll work around that. I quite honestly, I plan on being out in the field the entire time and then coming back into the office for an hour at the end of the day, just to take care of whatever administrative things I have to do.
So we'll go back to the change order. You're saying the change order is to Indus.
Yes.
Okay. And again, I think that's a decision. If it's double the cost, I think you won't want to think about that, but that's. Yeah.
Again, you got 2 very, very good contractors. I mean, you couldn't have asked for 2 better firms to be doing this work. And I think you've already experienced Cardi before, and I've experienced seal coating, or now called Indus, multiple times. And I have the first 10 streets that they want to work on for the reclaim. And it's Michael Street, Clare Street, Edwards Court, Exchange Road, Spruce Court, Turner's Drive, Quaker Lane, Shady Hill Drive, Sycamore Drive, and Hamlin Street. Lonsdale being kind of the 11th one on that list. And just again, so everybody's on the same page, Lonsdale is not going to be completely reclaimed. There's about a break point about halfway down where the road turns really crap, and it has to be reclaimed. And the rest of it can be a crack seal and a micro surface. Carlson Circle's another one. Carlson Circle actually has reclaim for one part of it, and then the other part of it is going to be just crack sealing. Pretty much from the ball field to the end of, and I can't remember the road, that needs to be reclaimed, where from the ball field down, it's pretty much just a couple of cracks need to be filled, and there's one full depth patch that has to be done.
Kristen, I hit that by accident because the screen moved. I see you looking. Does Jay Messier, do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of them were answered. I mean, especially it was brought up making sure that the neighbors are notified. But I think even further in advance, if the council can kind of have like a list of kind of the game plan of what's going to be done this year. And again, I know that this is going to be fluid and not everything is going to necessarily go by that game plan, but at least that we have an idea when we get messages from our constituents going, you know, when is blah, blah, blah street going to be done? We can go, listen, it's on the schedule to potentially be done in either August or September or whatever, or you're going to be done next year. And that way we can at least kind of all be on the same page. But I think, you know, definitely the robocall works, getting it out in the Times, getting out on the big message board, whatever we got to do to get it out to the.
And I just want to point out, I know when we did Harris Avenue, Cardi's went up and down the road with notifications and put them on each door. So every resident did receive one a day or two in advance. So I'm sure that's how they're going to work once again.
Yeah, that wasn't Cardi. That was D'Amber, and it wasn't D'Amber. That was the DPW that actually put the notices out.
Oh, it worked. So it's not a bad idea.
That way there's no, I mean, again, because we're going to try to hit every medium, but there's going to be some people that are not going to hit it also. I mean, the door, perfect thing. You can't, you put it on their door. They're right there. They live there. They're going to see the notice. So yeah.
All right.
And those need to include the time of day. Are they going to start at 7 a.m.? What days of the week they might be working?
But it's a good thing. I mean,
okay, go ahead, Jason.
It's a good problem. I mean, people are going to be happy. We're fixing the roads. It's a good thing, and it's a good problem to have. It's a temporary inconvenience, but at the end of the day, it's a good problem to have.
Everybody gets happy with the smell of asphalt.
Put that on a t-shirt.
All right.
Don, if they come across, or is it possible they will come across any issues with our water or sewer lines when they do this?
We've invited the water department and we've invited the gas company to attend the pre-construction conference. I have the list of water streets that the water department plans on working on, and I have the street that the gas company plans on working on. And I plan on doing this 10 roads at a time for the bigger, for the reclaim and the cold in place, so that they have a chance to react and tell me if there's an issue, and that'll give them a chance to work on that. If we have to delay a road into the fall or into next summer because they have to do something, we'll delay the road for that time frame.
But will they be able to tell? Like, I'm not quite sure how all that works. If the company is out and they're reclaiming a road, will they be able to tell if there's an issue with? Are they going deep enough, I guess, to see if there's an issue with the sewer, any sewer lines or water lines?
No, they will not. Now, right. I will tell you, on Harris Road, we had an issue with the water in that they had to get a service into a little development into the back, and that kind of delayed us a day or two. And ultimately they came in off from Green Street instead of off from ours, but they had to do some work there. And then on Church Street, when we reclaimed the road, as soon as we put the binder down, we ended up with a water main break. And what had happened was a huge boulder that was put in there. When they put the water main in, they put that on top of the water main. And when the vibrating roller went over it, ended up cracking the bell. So again, it was not a problem by the water, by the road company. It was a problem that was a problem from the water department because they did not put the proper fill over the pipe. They put a huge boulder on top of it. So unfortunately, any kind of movement on that causes damage. And that's something that they should never have done. I think that boulder is still up there on the corner of, I think it's School Street and Church Street.
So Jay, those pipes are 3 to 4 feet down, and they're only taking 6 inches off the top. if they're doing a reclaim. So
Right.
it's for them to see that, they might cause damage or whatever due to poor or I want to say improper, but age of pipes and whatever. It definitely could cause issues with the vibrating roller because that thing can. I don't know if you've ever been on a road when that thing is vibrating, it can vibrate a foundation, 50 feet off the road. So, it may cause things to happen, but again, that's after the fact, and sometimes they learn during construction, but they won't be able to see the pipes whatsoever.
Would it make more sense? I'm just throwing this out there. Would it make more sense if we have the road schedule, what we're doing, for our sewer department to come in and check the sewer pipes first? Because what I'm trying to get at is we do all these roads over, we spend all this money, and then all of a sudden the worst thing is when you have to rip up a road right afterwards.
East Main Street.
Whatever.
Perfect example. Yes.
Yeah.
East Main's a perfect example. The state,
Yep, it is.
I met with the governor's office, we got it done, and now the gas company comes in and puts gas lines in, and now Kent County Water is following them right behind. Now, Jay, the only thing is with the sewer, water, and gas is, well, I'm not so much about sewer, but I know water and gas are governed by the PUC, and I went through this with Renadette Street. There's a 1-inch water line down there, and I actually introduced to the Kent County Water Authority, hey, here's your opportunity. You got 7 houses on wells that are willing to tie in over there. Will you put your water line in now? Because that 1-inch water line wouldn't do anything for those 7 houses. And they said they cannot do it because they need to have the money and they have to get it authorized by the PUC. So no matter what the infrastructure is, if it's not on their plans and not before PUC, they're not going to do the work.
And again, we've been
I was just
coordinating
thinking more
with,
with sewer, because we can control sewer, we can coordinate because they're part of us.
Well, can sewer, well, that's the other question. Does sewer have all that work? Say if they say, we got to replace sewer lines down 10 roads because you got them open, do they have the money to do so?
Right.
That many at one time is the question. You know what I mean?
They have the money to give money in other places. So I don't know. That's something we'd have to look into.
again, they've all been part of this process for the last 7-8 months, and they're all coming to the pre-construction. And again, we're going to send out the list of roads, the schedule. This is what we're going down this road. If you've got an issue with that, stop us now and we'll turn around and alter our schedule. If not,
Okay.
it's up to you. And there's a 5-year moratorium that once we go by there, unless it's an emergency, they're not going into the road.
Okay. That makes sense, Don.
It's not perfect.
No, but as long as they, we know in advance. I mean, especially, my thing, I'm kind of harping on the sewer because, that's something that we can work hand in hand with versus getting any grief from another company,
Yeah. I don't know how much they have done with their camera, whether they've cameraed a lot of these lines and stuff. But if they have, and they've come up with a maintenance program, they should go ahead and do that and start, and start repairing the lines as need be. And they don't have to dig up the road to do most sewer lines.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions from the council? I know incoming Councilman Bourget has his hand up. I'm glad he uses the hand raise function. So any other questions? All right, Mark, I'm going to ask you to unmute. And first off, welcome back and welcome to the West Warwick Town Council.
Thank you. I never thought I'd be back, but here I am. Thank you for letting me speak tonight also. Yeah, and I only knew about the hand up because I listened to a whole bunch of your other meetings, so I got kind of the clue on how this whole thing works a little bit. A lot of my questions that Don and I talked a little bit earlier today, and he answered a lot of them. I didn't know that all the roads are already selected for the most part. And that was one of my big concerns, is just to make sure, because I know some of the roads that have been ignored under other bond referendums for doing the roads, and they're horrific. And I'm glad to see those roads are on the list. So most of what my questions were answered from Don earlier today. So I really don't have anything with any other questions for tonight, except Don mentioned Lonsdale. I'm assuming you mean from Cohasset Ave all the way up until the bend. You're going to reclaim all that, and then the rest of it down to Coolest is just going to be the cold in place.
A crack seal, and a full depth and patch, I believe. Again, I just looked at the estimate tonight, and there's a point where they talk about the telephone poles. I actually have to go out there with paint and mark it up. One of the things I'll do when the contractors are on board is we will walk every one of the major streets. I won't do this for crack sealing, but I'll do this for any reclaimed cold in place or hot in place. We'll walk every inch of those roads just to make sure that we've got a clear understanding. And there'll be paint marks that says, cold in place or reclaim and crack seal. And there'll be a line where they stop and go. For example, New London Turnpike. If you go up to Clare Street from Maine to Clare, that road's in great shape. It floods all the time, but it's in great shape. But from Clare all the way to the town line, it's a horrible road. So that we will stop at Clare Street and we'll save that $15,000, $20,000 versus trying to go all the way to Main Street with it.
All right. And as far as Lonsdale goes, you said it's like number 11th on the list. 'Cause
Yes.
I think that's probably one of the worst ones in the entire ward. I don't know if why it's so far down the list.
We selected 10. We talked with a contractor. We've got the 10, and then Lonsdale Street was the next one on the list. So again, Turner's is, by the way, the worst one on that on your in your ward. Turner's absolutely horrid.
All right. But it should all get done this year, weather permitting
Yes.
and scheduling permitting.
Yes.
Okay. That's pretty much all I had for the road stuff.
And Mark, just to point out, former Councilman D'Amico, and this is the first time we've done a road bond like this. And I know Mary Beth and Councilman D'Amico were pretty much, spearheading in talking about, let's do the important roads and not by ward. I think you were on the council when they did $1 million per ward way back when, one of the first road bonds, and then the second road bond was the same thing. Councilman D'Amico made it clear numerous times here at meetings that he's not eligible, or Ward 5 is not eligible for CDBG money. And so he, and we all discussed it as a council and we agreed, and let's come up with a list of roads and then go from there, not by so much money per ward. So that's how this came about.
Yeah, my last time I fell between both of those road bonds. Peter Kelsey had the first one and the second one came after me. So yeah, I missed out on all of it.
So any other questions from the council? Hearing none, I'm going to take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Thank you.
Okay, authorization to award the Road Preservation Services 2021-6 to Seal Coating doing business as Indus in an amount not to exceed $4,057,236.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moving second, any discussion? I know we just probably had a lot of discussion about it, but
I do have some concern that is the only game in town, and Don, you've made that clear to us. It's a big chunk of money. It's $4 million going to one. And I know you just let us know that they have subs, but I'm sure you'll keep on top of it. You say you've worked with them many times. I just want to make sure that we are being diligent. Again, it's $4 million. You're talking about a change order already. So I am not familiar with Indus. I don't know anything about it. I'm a little surprised that no one else bid on it, but
The driving theme on putting these, this type of process out is the cold in place saves you 25 to 30% on a mile of road versus reclaim. Hot in place saves you 50% in place. If the base is not damaged, and you don't have major ruts and you don't, again, look at Turner's for an example. If you don't have a road like that, you don't have to correct the base. You can get by with the cold in place or the hot in place, thereby saving 25 to 50%, which means you do more of your roads versus less of your roads. The crack sealing, and we have a huge amount of crack sealing going down, that will help preserve your roads up to 5 to 7 years. And there's, I believe the number, it's 70, no, that's liquid asphalt. Hold on a second. 75,000 gallons of crack sealant. And that comes up to 924,000. But that is your major preservation that you're doing on these roads. And that buys you 5 to 7 years. And I don't think we'll use all 97. I think I overestimated on that by probably a factor of 20 or 30%. So you'll get some of that money back.
and that's fine. So that's a quarter of the $4 million is what you're saying.
Yes.
Any other questions for Don? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi?
Yes.
Councilman Messier?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
I have one question. Can I ask it?
Sure.
All
Not
right.
that we may not be able to
Don.
answer it.
No, it's fine. No, it's fine. If when all this is, when each road is done, if something happens and it causes a negative impact on someone's property, whether it's lawn or driveway or whatever it may be, are we in a position on the spot to try and rectify that?
Absolutely.
Okay, and this will be done before, because I kind of think, I hear what you're saying as far as you're doing 10 roads at a time. So you're trying to do like pockets of 10.
Correct.
So just prior to that pocket being finished, I'm not looking to give anybody a new driveway, but just in case they're going to be affected with runoff or anything like that, any berms that are taken out, or if a berm needs to be put in to protect someone's property from a negative impact, are we able to do that as well?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
I would agree that would be important to do that on the spot and not wait until and say, I'm going to put you on a list and do it next spring or do it next summer or do it next winter or whatever. I would agree with Jason in that regard. Right.
I thought D'Ambra was very responsive. We had a couple issues on Harris because of the pitch of the road, how steep it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought they got out there pretty much, within a day or two.
Good.
And the DPW did their part. We did the loam and seed on the back of the curbing and stuff. And again, we took care of that pretty much on the spot. So again, I thought we did very, very well there, and we'll do very, very well on these.
Okay.
Okay.
It's just
Thanks,
a much
Don.
bigger volume.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. One at a
Thank you.
time.
All right, Sarah, maybe we'll move on.
Okay, authorization to award council chambers audiovisual upgrades to Global AV Solutions.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion. I know that's probably why Mr. Botello is here out of retirement, and I know he's been working with Joe Hool and John Botello working on this for the past year. And obviously due to COVID and everything, in the way meetings are changing with able to have virtual, it looks like that is the way the state is going to want us to go from here on out. While we're live, people can also be virtual. So who wants to speak, Joe or John? Oh,
We
Sarah?
also, Sarah's here. Cale Canoyer, who is one of the gentlemen from the company that's going to be, that we're talking about awarding this to, is here also. Mr. President, if you I can let him
Yes.
in. He can,
Yeah, okay. Go ahead, let him in.
should be coming up in a second. Cale, if you want to turn your camera on and turn your mic on, you can give us a little explanation of what's going to happen.
Yeah, so apologize here. I didn't know I was going to get called to speak, but that's fine. Yeah, so we have been, we have done some work for you guys, your guys' neighboring communities in Bristol. I actually think you guys were a reference from them. We've done some work for Dobbs Ferry, New York. Very similar projects. The hybrid meeting solution is something that is probably not going anywhere for the foreseeable future, as you guys are experiencing tonight. So, I'm not sure exactly what you want me to speak to, but I can tell you about the solution that we have in place quoted. I can tell you about who we are and what we do. So just any questions you guys have, let me know.
Okay, first question I would have is, what are going to be our abilities? And are we going to be able to answer questions and do things virtually? So in other words, the council will be here in the chambers, and obviously the way meetings are being set up now, being, half and half, are they going to be able to participate from home is the question I have.
Yeah, so don't think of anything changing in a big fashion for your virtual participants from where they are now. So the big change is going to be what's going on in your council chambers where you are now, and how we collect that audio, how we collect that video, how we collect that presentation in that space, and all of the ease of use attributes from one touch to join, integrating that in with your calendaring system, so on and so forth. So the quote as it stands being proposed has two cameras, one to capture the council members, another one to capture anybody who is speaking at the lectern. I won't bore you with all of the line items here on the quote, but we have a touch control panel, which is going to be the heart of all of your end users, which is going to be you council members when you're in that chamber. So think of it as a 10-inch touch controller that has a lot of the same icons that you're seeing on your desktop application now that you've become very, very familiar with, but with the benefits of the Zoom Room application, which is what will be running in that room. We've got a lot of audio pieces in here to collect the local audio and be able to monitor that from the standpoint of, if one council member speaks very verbose like I do, but yet another council member speaks very softly, we can come in and actually tune that that digital sound processor to that environment for your guys' meetings. We're coming back in, and obviously we're celebrating our 25th year in business. Doing what we do best, which is what we call AV triage, coming into an existing situation, assessing what equipment can be repurposed and save budget dollars, and then implementing what needs to be added to the AV deployment to bring it to current use cases. And so we have what we call our AV triage work that's going to go on. And we've got some really nice small confidence monitors that are spec'd in for the council members. So when they're sitting at the dais, they will be actually able to see what's going on in the meeting versus looking behind, such as that monitor behind you, to try to see what's going on at the time as far as the meeting goes. And from there, we don't hire any in-market hired guns for our customers. In 25 years of business, we have definitely figured out that nobody cares about our customers more than ourselves. So we will actually have GIS certified technician on property doing the installation. We will pre-configure, test, and box all the equipment up prior to shipping it to your location. And I'm open for any questions at this point in time if I didn't answer everything at this or with that.
How about audio? I know a lot of us work with tablets or laptops. During the meeting, will there be feedback, echo, or anything to that extent?
Well, you know, COVID has definitely introduced a very unique scenario, and a lot of the best practices have definitely been thrown out the window, with people sitting in one room on multiple devices joining the same exact meeting, which is definitely a no-no. So in that room, the council chambers that we have bid, there will be no need for that. Nobody will need to be opening up another device to actually join the meeting. That being said, the days of plugging in a laptop or a mobile device via an HDMI or a VGA dongle are gone. Zoom has a wireless presentation aspect to it or feature to it. So that's all gone. So not to say that somebody doesn't need to have a personal laptop there to throw up a PowerPoint or an Excel spreadsheet or PDF, whatever it may be. But no, the echo and feedback comes when we have multiple devices in a very close proximity joining the same meeting at the same time, and really should not be an issue in that room because it shouldn't happen.
Anybody else have any questions?
How long will it take to get this up and running?
Yeah, so we just got awarded Bloomfield, Connecticut. So we're in the middle of procuring all of their equipment that we didn't already have in stock. Prior to that bid award, we said that we had a 6 to 8 week lead time in our mind between bid award and implementation. Obviously, we're all going through the same exact things, similar to your previous topic, where supply chain issues and demand issues are out there. So I'd never want to overpromise and underdeliver. That's not what we're about. So I would say, realistically speaking, we're talking about 8 to 12 weeks, but I'm confident we can beat that.
Okay. I assume that the Bristol contract bid award was just attached as an example for us. Sarah?
I furnished it to your, I'm sorry, go ahead. Sorry, you were asking Sarah, not me.
Well, no, that's fine. Either one of you.
Yeah, no, definitely. I furnished that to your procurement division for them to be able to, even your, a neighboring or close state there with Dobbsbury, New York, was actually able to piggyback off of that award. So I'm not sure what Sarah came up with, but I'll let her speak to that.
Actually, Kristen could probably explain it better than me, but I think that it helps us not have to go through the bid process.
Correct.
Yeah, that's correct. We can piggyback off of Bristol. Bristol's
And that's what
yeah.
Right.
Okay, terrific.
So with that being said, Sarah and Mark, what, if the state of emergency closes on the end of July, what implications do we have if we meet live in the meeting in August and we don't supply this type of feature to our residents of West Warwick, or anybody actually?
Well, I think that's going to be a challenge, because the way I understand the executive orders and the Senate not taking up the continuation of the Zoom process or that online interactivity, we need to be in person, or at least the panel does, after July 23rd. It hasn't, although the governor extended the emergency order till August 9th, there's been no directive that this portion of it has been affected. So we'd have to be in person here after the 23rd. And it's my understanding that our streaming capabilities that we did prior to COVID perhaps has been cannibalized, or whatever the proper terminology is not functioning. So we won't be able to stream it, if you will. We can explore an opportunity and maybe make a tentative agreement, whether we did it in-house or we contracted with somebody to video record our meetings, so then we can then put them in the appropriate location to be viewed afterwards. As you mentioned before, it doesn't really make sense to try to do some type of Zoom component in the chambers unless it's really just one person. But I think, any more than that, obviously, like we get that feedback, and that's not going to be acceptable. And I don't know how robust our meeting we'd be able to share if it was just one person doing it and controlling it from within. I don't know if one of the experts could enlighten us to see if that's something we could pull off for a few weeks, but I just don't envision that working.
I can't imagine we're the only community with that issue. I mean, I have to believe there are many of them, so there's going to have to be some relief provided, I assume.
Yeah, well, there's no mandate to do it. The Senate didn't take that up. So,
right.
For us to be compliant, we need to be in person. Anything like this is going to be, I guess, what I would call, a bonus or a benefit to our constituents to keep offering that service. And sadly, we'll have to just wait in line for supplies and installation.
Maybe that's a question we need to ask the state on, and see what we can do if we're being kind of forced to come live with not having the ability of the Zoom meetings the way they are, that we want to make sure we're not going to get ourselves in a little bit of open meetings mess. John Patello, I see your hand up, and then I'll Mark Bourget.
David, if you recall, when we did a couple of meetings where you were the lone person in the council chambers, and we were able to stream via a iPad, and I got some equipment that I can loan to Joe that could take the audio off of that mixer. And I know I was with Sarah last week before I retired, and was able to get that mixer up and running so I can extract audio out of the mixer that comes, so anything that comes off of the council chamber's desk can be extracted through that mixer. And I have a device, I'll loan it to Joe. And we did it with you once or twice. I think we did a meeting with you.
We had audio problems. I know I was getting text messages.
We solved that audio problem with that device that I got from the radio station. So we could use that device to stream the audio, and via Zoom, still do what we're doing here, but it'd just be like a camera off the iPad that we did that night. We could try that. We could do a test. I think Joe, we did a test with David once. Didn't we do that once? We did a quick test via Zoom, and then we streamed.
Yes, we did. And what I was going to mention too was I can get in touch with the with Clerk Base, who's now doing all of our streaming with the YouTube side of this. And at least we'd be able to broadcast it onto YouTube, which we were doing before when we were using Granicus. It was broadcast, but people weren't able to interact. It would be the same thing. People would be able to see the broadcast live,
Not interact.
not necessarily interact. So if we can work something out, that was one of the options that we were looking at until we can get this taken care of.
And if we go to this new system, will we be using YouTube anymore?
Yes.
Yeah, it'll still go over YouTube for anybody that wants to watch it without being able to comment like they're
That's
doing
how,
now.
David, that's how ClerkBase, when Mary Ann Kelly, the previous clerk, when she chose ClerkBase, and he and I sat down, and Joe sat down with the ClerkBase. Granicus used to use their own servers to archive our meetings when we used to stream them off the old system. ClerkBase uses YouTube as a tool, and basically uses YouTube as their cloud. So everything that's where the meeting is going to be archived. But Joe also saves them, and as tonight he's recording it, and I know we have a place on the server that we save them and we archive them ourselves as well, so they get backed up nightly when we do our nightly when you guys do your nightly backup. But it's also archived on YouTube as well. So you have two places where it's archived, but ClerkBase uses YouTube as their cloud.
Right, thank you. Sarah's next.
I just wanted to remind you guys that the hybrid function is not a requirement. Actually, even the streaming isn't a requirement of open meetings law. So after July 23rd, basically, we just need to have in-person meetings with, at our max capacity, and we will be within open meetings regulations. So, I mean, it's definitely a great service to our community to be able to stream and, to be able to interact, but in a pinch, you guys aren't breaking any rules.
Okay, thank you. Mark, you're next.
David, I don't know if you remember, but when I was on the council the last time, we had a hearing impaired person that was coming to the meetings. And so does this system help with any hearing impaired people that might want to be either at the meeting or watch from home to still be able to interact back and forth?
It'd be a question for Kale.
Yeah, so hearing impaired locally there would probably require some investigation as to, do you have any equipment currently there for them? I know Dobbsbury did, Bristol did not. So locally there, obviously it's a hardware question. And what would that look like? Obviously, just like your phone system that you currently have now for dialing into these webinars, you can use your keypad, your DTMF tones. And yes, Zoom, as you're using it, has the ability to support hearing impaired individuals. So the question is yes, but we probably need to investigate that a little bit more.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, Mark?
No, that was one of the things that just popped in my head, because I remember the challenge that we had back then, trying to make sure that we got the hand signer in there and being able to
stenographer. Yeah, we had a stenographer.
And the stenographer, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about the stenographer. So just to see if this would help if we ran into that situation again.
I know if you hook up to a monitor, or whether it's the monitor behind me, is an option that if you can put in, I would probably buy a newer TV, a smart TV. That way there, you can put the Zoom on and put it on mute, and then put the closed caption on, and it'll show up there too. It's an option that we can probably offer. We just have to look at it in case. We haven't had that lately, but it does happen from time to time.
Right. I just didn't know if somebody was at home, like right now we're all at different places and we can all communicate. If there was a feature within it that made it so somebody who's hearing impaired could type and we would actually see their questions or comments.
Yeah, so we have a Q&A and a chat room here that I look at, and if something pops up, for the most part, I can look at it, and I think everybody else can see it too, as far as the council goes, or anybody who's a panelist. So it's just a matter of, but you got to be on. It's hard to do it on your phone. It's very difficult. So, but if you're on a laptop or a tablet, it's usually no problem.
Okay.
Everyone can see the chat and the Q&A, but when we're in either of those formats, you can choose whether you answer a person directly or whether everybody in the panel sees what's going on. So there are a couple different options for that, Mark, as far as how the Q&A works. The only question with it is, as far as somebody hearing impaired, they can type in, but I don't know how much of what they're actually getting from the meeting, depending on what the closed captioning settings are that they have on their own computers.
Okay, thank you.
Also, we shut the YouTube chat feature off on YouTube due to the fact that we didn't want comments being made during the meeting, any disparaging. We couldn't control them, so that feature was shut off. If somebody is watching on YouTube, it'd have to be via Zoom.
Yep.
Yeah, and even with YouTube, we don't like, the council isn't watching on YouTube, so even if they ask questions, we wouldn't be able to answer them too. So that's another good reason to have them off.
Yeah, exactly. But Joe and I used to watch the YouTube just in case until we shut it off. Yeah, we monitored it.
All right. Any other questions? Jay, I muted you because you were back feed.
Echoey.
Yeah. Any other questions for Kale or John or Sarah or Joe? I want to thank everybody. I know it's been, I know Joe and John and Sarah, you've been going back and forth with this the last few weeks and how we're going to go about this. And Joe and John, you've been working on this over a year now. And, thank you for everything you guys have done.
No problem. My pleasure.
You're welcome.
John, enjoy retirement. I want to take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi?
Yes.
Councilman Messier?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
I just want to also echo your statement, Dave. Like Joe, have him on speed dial. If speed dial was still a thing in 2021, I guess. How many times I had to call him to get back into meetings. So they did like an incredible job. So
Absolutely.
both
Not over yet. It's not over yet.
No, I know, but still.
Is there public comment on this agenda? I'm sorry, I have.
It's okay.
Upcoming
I do have some
appointments.
upcoming appointments.
Okay.
The Sewer Use Board of Review has one alternate member vacancy with a term to expire October 2021 and 2 vacancies with a term to expire October 2023. The Pension Committee has 2 vacancies with terms to expire November 18th, 22 and November 18th, 21. The Recreation Committee has 1 vacancy, although I think there's the second coming. I haven't gotten any official paperwork yet. And we also still have an opening in the tree warden position. And yes, public forum is on there, Dave, sorry. Public forum, to participate, use the raise hand icon at the bottom right side of your screen, or if you're using a phone, press *9. The moderator will tell you when it's your turn to speak. Comments during public forum will only be heard and not acted upon by the town council. Section 42-46-6 of the Open Meetings Act and the Department of the Attorney General advisory opinions relevant to this item on any public body meeting agenda specifically prohibits the council from discussing, considering, or acting on any topic, statement, or question presented. The town council may, if warranted, refer such items to an appropriate committee, to another body or official, or post the matter for consideration at a properly noticed future meeting.
Any questions or any public comment?
May I just, and I should have done this before, go back and Kristen, you are here. I know Don talked about the funding for the road bond, where we are in that process, how that's going, what's happening there. Can you
So
give
we
us
were
a quick?
approved. We were approved through RIB. Mark has signed the commitment letter. We're just waiting for a closing date. They have to price it and set a closing date.
And do we have any idea when that might be?
I'll reach out to Sydney again tomorrow and see if they
Okay.
can get it soon.
Okay, thank you.
I I see no public comment.
We'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
aye.
See you next Tuesday. Mark, hope you're sworn in by then, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah,
Thank you. Have a good
Yeah.
night, everyone.
welcome aboard. Yep,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Welcome, Mark.
Good to be here.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.